Welcome, everyone. I wonder if we could ask everyone to get a refreshment and take their seats. Dr. Latif, would you come up to maybe sit next to Mr. Minot there? We don't want to waste any time. So welcome again. Thank you for being here tonight to support the fabulous Road Home program at Rush. My name is Tom Langto. I'm privileged to serve along with my co-chair and partner Bill Minot as we're co-chairs of what's called the Road Home Leadership Committee at Rush. And Bill is a great partner. If you know Bill, you know he asks really good questions, right? And he asks good questions, and I was like, why didn't I think of that? But anyway, he's been a great partner. A lot of people, Bill, we've got a lot of FOBs here tonight, obviously. So based on the turnout that you've generated, I think you may get a battlefield commission tonight and get the full job. So anyway, thanks for all that. On behalf of the Leadership Committee, thank you for joining us to hear firsthand from some of the veterans and their families about this extraordinary program. I want to recognize Rush Life Trustee, Ambassador Ron Gidwitz, who's with us tonight, along with Christina. He's, as you know, finished his distinguished service as both ambassador to the European Union and ambassador to Belgium. He's a great champion for Road Home from its inception. And just like the ambassador was performing two jobs in Brussels, it took two of us, Bill and me, to replace him as the chair of the Road Home Committee. But I wonder if you would be willing to share a sentiment about the program.
Thank you, Tom. You do not do yourself or Bill justice because you have done such a great job taking my place. The order of magnitude of improvement, at least from the leadership standpoint, is it's breathtaking. But let me just spend a couple of minutes talking about why and how I got involved and why this Road Home program is so important. I've always had a real interest in the intersection between the public sector, the private sector, and politics. And early on in my adult career, shortly after school, I was actually asked to be a student advisor to the Defense Department, if you could believe that. And I, as a 24-year-old, I was the advisor both to the Secretary of the Air Force and then to the Secretary of Defense. I'm not sure how much advice they took, but at least occasionally they would ask. Much in the same fashion, I suspect, as you give them advice and they takes it as well. Anyway, following that, I also had the privilege, starting in mid-70s, once the Volunteer Army became a reality, I was the founding member of the Executive Committee for the National Committee of the Guard and Reserve to encourage business organizations to support a volunteer military. More recently, I was served on the board of Business Executives for National Security and stood up the Chicago chapter, which I think is the reason why Bill Goodyear, who was then the chairman of Rush University Medical Center, asked me to get involved. I had been on the board for a number of years. Probably he thought I wasn't doing my part. Therefore, it would be useful because I had some interest in the military, get involved. And I have to tell you how impressive this organization was at the outset, but it is multiple times of that today. If you think about the problem, during the last 20 years, the wars of Iraq and Iran, somewhere between 2 and 3 million Americans served in those combat zones. And unfortunately, the consequences of that for many who have returned is PTSD and all kinds of other problems. And so when I heard about from Bill and from others the kind of programming that was being created in 5 institutions, of which Rush was one, how could you say no? And everything that was sold to me at the beginning has come true and in spades. I know you're going to hear shortly from some of the folks that have participated in the programs, but the data that you're going to see on the screen is just breathtaking. The only thing that I don't understand, and I feel is one of those things that I have left undone was to get a better understanding of and help the Veterans Administration understand how effective this program is and why it shouldn't be paid for as a veterans benefit 100%. And so I think besides the importance of philanthropy, and I thoroughly support philanthropy and have played years ago a role in helping raise money for this program, it really is an obligation of the United States government and the United States people to make sure that our servicemen and women have the kind of help and support that they need and they deserve. And this being one of the best programs, if not the best program of its kind in the nation, I believe should be 100% funded by the United States government and the Veterans Administration. What I've told Tom is that I would be happy to work with him and with the hospital to see that we get that kind of support from Washington. And so while I now am a Floridian and can't attend your leadership meetings, I can work from Washington to make it possible that we have a chance to get that kind of total funding from the Veterans Administration. So I look forward to working with all of those of you that are interested in seeing that the government do what they should be doing. And with that, I'll just turn the microphone back to Tom.
Well, when the ambassador and I met recently to have him debrief me on his experience in serving our country, he said the best part of it was that he didn't have to, he was prohibited from making any charitable contributions and political contributions, that he actually saved money as a result of his public service. But anyway, Ambassador, thank you so much for everything you've done for this program. It's really incredible. Also like to recognize and thank Dr. Larry Goodman, who's here. Were you had the vision. You had the vision to, and were the catalyst behind this when it was started, and so I think you deserve a lot of the credit for getting this started. I want to quickly thank Michelle Boardman, who's I called her the Road Home's top pickpocket, but actually that probably applies better to the ambassador than to Michelle. But she's the silent hand behind the philanthropy that supports Road Home. We recently lost a great supporter with the passing, a great Road Home supporter with the passing of Harold Byron Smith Jr. And I knew I mentioned this to a couple of people earlier. I knew I was really old because when I saw how old Harold was, and I realized that I'd played golf with Harold's father. Dr. Lateef, I was not his caddy. I was actually, anyway, my favorite recent vision of Harold Jr. was we were having our Rush board meetings and obviously doing them virtually. And so, you're on this, you're looking at this, sometimes you let your mind drift a little bit, and you're looking at the screen, and I'm looking to make sure that Bill Minot's paying attention, and Harold would be sitting at his desk smoking a big cigar, and I thought that's who I want to be. But anyway, we're going to miss his support and his service. Rush had the courage and the vision to sponsor this incredible program. And as you're going to find out tonight, the team, the Road Home team, has really just simply hit the ball out of the park. You're going to hear some personal stories tonight, really, and evidence of the powerful, successful metrics that the team has achieved. I think it's sometimes easy to be cynical about healthcare. Think about people like Dr. Lateef sitting around thinking about how to maximize liposuctions and things like that. But this is what I think what's incredible about Road Home is that, and thanks to many of you in this room and to others like you, that no veteran ever sees a bill. I mean, think about that. No veteran who's served by this program ever sees a bill. So we hope you'll enjoy hearing about the positive impact that Road Home has had as a result of your support. Now I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Lateef. Rush has a great history, as most of you know, got a great legacy of extraordinary leaders, Dr. Goodman, and Dr. Lateef follows in that. And I think, Rush's, in all seriousness, Rush's finest hour probably was the pandemic and the experience that the service that Rush provided, really above and beyond what any other healthcare institution, certainly in Chicago, did, and that was that Dr. Lateef was really responsible for that, and I think that. Again, Road Home is one of those programs that is not a mercenary mission of healthcare, but really a service mission. But, it's funny, Dr. Lateef and I were having lunch down here a few months ago, and he said, I really don't like the Chicago Club. It's too stuffy. And so he said, all these young people are making all this money. The traders and the venture capital people trade, and these the guys that wear hoodies, they don't want to come to the Chicago Club. So I got for you, Dr. Lateef. I'm going to put this on to make you feel. So. It's a privilege for me to introduce Dr. Omar Lateef.
We got to work on Tom's eyes. Look how big his writing is compared to my writing.
Well, I got the Rush doctors to.
Good evening, and first, thank all of you for your ongoing support of the Road Home program. Thank all of you for coming tonight. I know it was pretty arduous to try to get here, and we truly appreciate it. I'd like to start by thanking Tom for his introduction, his second-rate sense of humor. I would like to sincerely thank Ambassador Gidwitz for being with us tonight and for his incredible service to Rush and to the United States. A special recognition goes to Tom and both Bill and our Road Home Program Leadership Committee co-chairs for their dedication to this program and the people it serves. In 2014, the Road Home Program was a visionary idea. It was a visionary idea between Dr. Mark Pollack, and it took Dr. Larry Goodman to put operational support and trust in the idea to make something so real. There was an assumption that if you had PTSD, it wasn't treatable, and military veterans are often tough and were more resistant to believing that it was treatable. And they wanted to shatter that convention, and they did. Veterans believed there was no point in getting help at that point. A revolutionary treatment program to provide veterans, active duty service members, and their families with evidence-based mental and behavioral health support can literally change lives. The program is an incredible testament to the mission at Rush, to what we believe in, to improve the health of the individuals and diverse communities we serve, and to deliver care regardless of the client's discharge status or ability to pay. Rush is committed to caring for all veterans. As you know, the COVID pandemic triggered a 25% increase in anxiety, depression, and feeling of isolation worldwide. 25% of all people. COVID disproportionately affected veterans and their loved ones even more. Veterans are 57% more likely to take their own lives than those who haven't served. The Road Home program has been a critical resource during this challenging time. We've seen the highest patient volumes ever in this program when much of the country is shut down. Rush's program not only stayed open, but was vigorously open and more welcoming than ever before. Rush tapped into the knowledge and expertise of the Road Home program to even help our staff cope with the guilt, grief, and trauma of the pandemic. Just a few weeks ago, we graduated the 100th cohort from the Road Home program's intensive outpatient program. That's an incredible milestone. And 92% of the veterans who complete the program say it made a difference in their lives within 2 weeks, improving their relationships, work, school performance, and connections to their communities. Philanthropic support for the Road Home program has been incredible. Philanthropic support is actually vital to sustaining our impact and ensuring that veterans, active duty service members, and their loved ones overcome the barriers to health and wellness for their road home. We are breaking down barriers to care, delivering the exact treatments that people need, scaling these treatments, and actually saving lives in this program. If you've supported this program in the past, thank you for your generosity. And please consider sustaining that giving and consider giving more and encouraging others to give. If you've joined us tonight to learn more about the program, thanks for coming. We encourage you to become an integral part of RUSH and the Road Home program. We are so proud of the Road Home program staff members who provide these outstanding services, and more proud of all the clients who bravely seek support. We look forward tonight to helping the next 100 cohort and well beyond. I'm incredibly proud to introduce the people that created this program, Dr. Brian Clausen and the Executive Director at Will Beersdorf. Before I do this, and before I get down for 1 second, I want to highlight one point. We know in healthcare the programs that make a difference. We know the programs that make an impact. It's not new, it's not hard, it's not challenging. It's very difficult, especially in times that are challenging, to invest in those programs that make the biggest difference. This is one of those programs that you'll learn tonight makes a phenomenal difference. So thank you all for your incredible support.
Thanks, Dr. Lateef, and thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I'm Will Beiersdorf, the Executive Director of the Road Home program, and I'm kind of blown away because this is almost our 9th year since we opened our doors. And again, we're so grateful, Dr. Goodman, when Dr. Pollock and I came to talk to you about this, and when Mark started this. So, but before I turn this over to Brian and the talk with the panelists, I just want to talk a little bit about our mission. And our mission at Road Home is really simple. It says to compassionately care for veterans and their family members who are struggling with the invisible wounds of war and life. It's very simple. And what you're going to hear tonight about our mission is that. You'll hear that through the panelists. And then the other thing is our vision. We kept a simple vision in that Road Home would become a champion, and an advocate for veterans, service members, and their families. You'll hear that tonight as Brian talks and Ashton talks with the panelists. So I just want to thank you for your continued support. 9 years, hard to believe. And you're going to hear some great stories, and I'll turn it over to Brian. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Will. And, in true Road Home fashion, we wanted to do things a little differently tonight. Just with, the world being the way it is and sort of this time in history, we thought that a smaller, more intimate gathering where we could have conversations, build relationships was more appropriate. And I think the other pivot that we wanted to make tonight was to really kind of give a platform for some of the incredible people that make up the Road Home program, as staff members, as patients, sometimes as both, to really share their stories of resilience and share their lives of service. These are people who are family-oriented, who are community-oriented, who really want to be connected to something bigger than just themselves. And I really truly believe, I have the honor of being up here with an incredible panel of people. These are really the best among us. And I know you all are going to get sick of me saying this by the end of the night, but I'm just so grateful that you all took the time to be here with us tonight. I think it's truly what makes Road Home the place it is. That you all are willing to give the time to share what you've experienced with us. So, some introductions are in order. As Will said, I'm Dr. Brian Clausen. I have the privilege of being the clinical director of the Road Home program, and I'll kind of go through, give introductions to all the panelists here, and then we will get started with our discussion. Right next to me, I have Eric Chessier. I got it. He was coaching me earlier. He was like, "Don't butcher my name. Don't do it." Eric is a 5-year veteran of the United States Army with 10 years of service in the Illinois Army National Guard. And after a 25-year career in Chicago Public Schools, I have 2 kids in CPS. Thank you. Thank you. he joined us at the Road Home program to be an outreach coordinator and spreading the word of what we're doing, connecting with veterans, building relationships in the community. Eric is part of this panel because he has an interesting take on Road Home, both as a veteran who we have served, plus also as a staff member. Right? He's a successful graduate of our outpatient program, so he's seen us from both sides. Next, we have Ashton Kroner, who is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. She saw combat in both Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was her experiences in the military that led her to the Road Home program, where she now manages the outreach team, the team that Eric works on. This is an incredibly big job. It's a job with national scope, letting people know about the work that we're doing, and it's a big job, but I think Ashton's up for it. I think if anyone is, Ashton can do it. Eric agrees. Next, we have Lindsay Miller, who is the sister of Chris Miller, who is, again, one of our outreach coordinators. Chris is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps and saw combat in Iraq. Lindsay is on this panel, and I think this is very important, is because we often don't hear the perspective of siblings, right? I think Lindsay's story is very special because she saw Chris enlist in peacetime. 9/11 happened, he deployed, and their family changed a lot as a result, and we'll get to hear a bit from her about her experiences watching that happen. Next, we have Shayna McCutcheon, who's the wife of Reg McCutcheon. These are both graduates of our intensive outpatient program. Shayna completed our family education program around the same time that Reg came to be a part of our intensive outpatient program for PTSD. Reg is an Air Force veteran. He's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force with 34 years of service. And absolutely, yeah. He's also a therapist himself, and a trauma therapist at that. And I think their story is an interesting one of helpers helping others, and I think that's a theme that you'll definitely hear tonight. Together, Reg and Shayna have 8 children between them in a blended family. The 2 youngest are just finishing high school, and God bless you both. I'm just starting that journey myself, and I can't even. But together with their family, they formed a nonprofit called 9 Line Counseling, which in southern Indiana works with traumatized veterans and first responders. And again, we had a good conversation, right, about being healed so that you can heal others. Yes, sir. Right. So that's our panel. I'd like to just maybe pause and give everyone a bit of an acknowledgement for being here. Let's give them a round of applause, and we'll get started. So how this will work is I have some questions for Reg and Shayna, and then Ashton is kind of my co-MC for the night, and she'll ask Eric and then Lindsay some questions. And again, this is just to draw out some of those stories. It's kind of my hope that we recede into the background and really give these folks a chance to shine. So Reg and Shayna, I gave kind of the broad overview, but is there anything else in terms of introductions that you'd like folks to know about you both?
Wow. Can you hear me in the back? Okay, good. I usually have a habit of dropping this thing. So, little backstory. I enlisted in 1980 from southern Indiana, a little farm kid, probably green as the grass or the hay we picked up. In 1980, the interest rate was around 18%, and that was a pretty good rate. We're getting close to that, I hear. But anyway, you had to choose whether you want to pick up hay or go in the military, and my dad was the only man in our family that had ever been in the military. And I chose to follow in those footsteps because I heard they paid you pretty regular. And I had no idea you could actually fail in basic training. Never crossed my mind. Like I said, I was pretty green. So I went into the military, went in the Air Force in September 1980, and shuffled off to Buffalo, they say, and joined the military, was successful, pretty average student, and but I noticed that other young men and women were doing things like taking night classes. Crazy, right? And getting opportunities. And the Air Force was really big on school. Was then, still continues to be. I took a couple classes, and math was my favorite subject, and I found out I was pretty good at it. And from there, the Air Force offered me a scholarship to get commissioned. And I went into Space Command and Missiles and was a rocket scientist, so to speak. It's kind of my ongoing joke. A rocket scientist for years, and we just put things in orbit and tracked them and managed them. But when I first went in 1980, we filled out a thing called a dream sheet. And that dream sheet really basically said, what do you want to do when you grow up? So at 18, I decided I wanted to be a therapist. I said it. I wrote it on that paper. I have a copy of it. And many years later, almost 40, I guess, I finally became a therapist. But it was only after I went through other graduate programs and completed, and then once I was in Afghanistan, I realized our problem. When I was on Kandahar, I worked for NATO, ambassador. I took a trip to Mons, briefed our Supreme Allied Commander, et cetera, on our mission challenges, and we did not have the resources to do things we needed. So we kept using the same resources over and over again. And in Kandahar, there's a thing called the boardwalk. And that boardwalk is a great big square. The Canadians had a hockey rink in there. There's a soccer field in it. There was a TGIF Fridays and a few other restaurants. But you could walk on that boardwalk any day and see the 1,000-yard stare. And it was chilling. To pull in, get off the back of a C-130, and it was like somebody put a blow dryer in your face. And to see these young men and women around the boardwalk, you realize there really had to be some challenges and some solutions. And I decided at that point I was going to be part of the solution. So I actually, because all my schools in math and physics, well, it doesn't translate well in therapy. Well, I had to take a psychology class while I was in Afghanistan to start a master's degree in therapy when I got home. I completed it and started when I got home, then retired and moved on, and actually was here at University of Illinois. And then moved to Georgia because I wanted a marriage and family therapy degree, because I really wanted to do family dynamics, because I felt like that was the piece we were missing. I felt like that was the thing that we weren't covering well. We weren't covering the moms and the sisters and the family dynamic, and that was my whole motive. And it's not stop being important in my life and in our life. So regardless of what I did prior to 2014 when I retired, it's what I've done after 2014 that it's measured me. Not only my combat experience, the trauma that I suffered in that experience and went through, because it is multiplying, it's compounding. And when you hear stories and deal with stories, and I've run many what I call post-critical incident seminars for cops and first responders, I realize that this is a real thing in our community, and we're not dealing with it at another level, which is the families. And when we deal with families, veterans and their families, we bring their families in, and we all sit around and we all start having conversation because we want to get real. And not that we want to call out a vet. We want to love that vet. We want to remind him or her that they were valuable, that they meant something, their actions mattered, and their family matters now. And that is the story we tell or share and how we work in recovery. But I'll also say that it also multiplies on the therapist. And being a therapist, who do you get therapy from? They're all my friends. I know them in my community. Like, okay, Reg, you know this. You don't have to tell you this. And she's been with me on a couple sessions with folks I just asked would just sit with me, and they've done it repeatedly. It wasn't until I came here, and I just had to give in. It was just I couldn't do it. I was having issues with myself, and I was starting to reflect on my house and my family, and that's a big deal. I would go in and put on the face and do the therapy, but I couldn't ask myself those same questions. And somebody finally, lovingly, I say lovingly, It was lovingly, right?
It was.
Gave me an ultimatum. And I've known the Road Home program for 9 years. I've sent folks here. I've talked to Modi and Chris for a long time. Calling Modi, texting Modi and say, hey, you got a minute? And saying, it's me. I need help. A little Sunday school song, you've heard it. It's me, oh Lord, standing in need of prayer. Tough bat. Changed my life. Changed our life. I don't want to manage the entire time, but I do want to say thank you. Let me start out with a thank you to you that have contributed, to you who made space in your heart for us. It's not always easy, but I trust and I believe, and after I've gone through the program as a clinician, all I have to say is wow. And John Murphy sitting about 5 rows back on that side over there. John, thank you. He was my clinician and brother. Thank you. It wasn't a program, it was a process. And he found it and joined me, and I'm thankful for that. So, sorry I went a little long, but I apologize.
Don't apologize. This is wonderful. I'm actually tearing up over here myself. I guess I wanted to ask you, Reg, and Shana, like, what is it that changed? Because I think we always say, like, look, this is a short burst. What could possibly happen in 2 weeks? But it sounds like the world opened up. Could you say a little more about that?
I want her to answer this one right now.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to just say first, I feel a bit unworthy to be sitting in this room. So I'm very new to the military life. I met Reg and, you know, just strong and passionate, and, you know, we kidded. You know, I called him Clark Kent for a while. And, you know, just all those things that are required of someone who serves our country well, you know, that is willing to sacrifice, is willing to do whatever it takes. And then, you know, we get married and we have this crazy blended family, and I'm watching him help so many people and understand so many people and heal, speak into, serve, but struggle. And, you know, at first I was like, oh, well, like, it's okay, you know, like, he can handle it. Like, he's Superman, right? You know, and it really just required a pause. I was like, we have to stop. We have to pause, so that he could try to find some help for him, for, you know, what he's having, what's waking him up in the middle of the night, what he's having nightmares about, what, you know, and that he's just trying to ignore because he's thinking about who he's going to help tomorrow. And it was difficult for us to find some place because, you know, he's not addicted to drugs or alcohol. If that was the case, we would have had all kinds of options. So I'm so thankful for this program. It's specific, it's unique, not only because it serves veterans, but specifically post-traumatic stress and what happens in families, how it affects everyone. And I'm just so thankful that he was able to come someplace, take off his therapist hat, his Superman cape, and allow someone to help him, people to love him, and that he was able to find people that could trust him.
So if I could add one thing to that, Brian. You know, as Ambassador brings up, 1.9 million to 3 million people have been deployed, but for every one of those persons, there's a spouse, there's a partner, there's a mom, there's a dad, there's a brother, there's a sister, there's a dog, and a kid. Can't get out soon enough. But they're there, and they too have the same challenges. They too have the struggle. It's not 1.9. The average family is 3.1, 3.2 in there, I think. That's what the latest census numbers are. And that's a magnitude which we cannot let go of because it's still there. It's not going anywhere. And there could be 20 rushes, 20 road home programs, one in every state to make 50. Yep. And it still could not handle the load it needs to. The VA tracks suicide rate, but they only manage 40% of the veterans that are actually on, only 40% of the veterans are in the VA system. So that 22 is 40%, just a little statistic. So it's really a little bit higher than that because not all veterans go to the VA. So the statistics run a little backwards. You have to know the magnitude of it. So at that 40% number, it's a little different. So it's a real issue, and we're very well aware of it in our world. So, Brian?
You know, my final question to you both would be what advice would you give to somebody who's considering seeking out Road Home for services, for help?
So before you destroy another relationship, before you step on it one more time, to use a military term, before you create a challenge in your world that you are just reacting to or acting out on, ask for help. There really is an opportunity for help. As Shanna suggested, if I was an addict, if I was on drugs or alcohol and I needed that level of support, there have been a host of programs out there. Matter of fact, they're popping up every day. But these programs are not popping up every day. We're not dealing with post-traumatic stress. We're dealing with the effects of post-traumatic stress and trying to call it treatment for post-traumatic stress, and it's not. This is treatment for post-traumatic stress. I deal with a lot of clients that say, well, I'm an alcoholic, I've been drinking. And they tell me they've been on 3 deployments, and I have to bring them back off that and ask them the question, so when did you start drinking? After deployment 1, sped up after 2, and then 3, you know, I was on an IV of alcohol. So that's kind of the cycle. But on the other side of that is that they don't always recognize they need the help because they're dealing with a symptom, not the real problem. And alcohol is just a medicine to them. It just makes it go away. Get the help you need. It's just a phone call away. And it really, the team, the way they brought me in, I mean, I have to just give kudos to everybody. Everybody I talked to in how they dealt with me. They respected me. They treated my entire family. They checked on me. Because I didn't come in the next day. It took about a month before I get a slot. They took care of me along the way and reached out to me and kept me connected. From the moment I started with my intake till the time I got here, everybody cared and everybody showed it and demonstrated over and over again. Make no mistake, they're sharing hope and opportunity in those phone calls, but they're also reaching us. And from a clinical standpoint, I'm a little cynical. So from that standpoint, I could not be more pleased. But I had my wife along with me in every step. Every phone call I was on, she was on. Every time I came out of session, and it's not just one session. If you go to a program for alcoholism or substance abuse, you get 1 or maybe 2 sessions a week. I got 2 sessions a day. 2 sessions a day to help resolve. And I was given work, and I did the work, and I brought my wife in, and we did the work together, because that's what you have to do. And that's what the Road Home program gave me, was a path and an opportunity. But I wasn't afraid to do the work. And that's what they gave me the opportunity to do. So take it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think as I'm reflecting on what you're saying, it's just the opportunity was there, the door was open, the clinic was here, the staff was here. Like all you had to do was call, and we sort of wrapped everything around and took you and your family on this journey. So Yes, thank you both for sharing your story and for being a part of this program and yeah, for making it the special place that it is.
It's an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So here we go. Can you guys hear me? All right, so I have the pleasure to be able to work with Eric next to me, but he has a very interesting story. So Eric, if you could just tell us how you got started and just kind of give us a brief introduction.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eric Chessier. I am currently a veteran outreach coordinator at Road Home. As Brian stated, I did 5 years of service in the regular Army, from Fort Sill to Camp Ball, Louisiana, to Babenhausen, Germany. I didn't deploy to Iraq during the first Iraq war because our howitzers were too heavy for the sand. So we stayed in Europe and we did guard duty all over Europe. And then after that, when I came back home, I joined the Illinois Army National Guard because I still had it in me to serve our country. And I was stationed at the 2-1-2 Field Artillery on 52nd and Cottage Grove at the General Jones Armory. I was there for 10 years as a field artilleryman and then a unit retention officer. So that's the crux of my military career. I'm glad to have my wife Patricia here with me tonight. We've been married 23 years. And she's been part of the journey as well, Ashton.
Absolutely. So how did you hear about Road Home, and at what point did you decide it was time to seek care?
Right. I was going through a routine physical, and I explained to my primary physician that I was having some mental issues. And I was telling him it stemmed from my service and the way that I was processing things that happened to me. The way that I was processing things that happened to me in Germany. And in basic training, those instances were stuck, and I wasn't processing things right, and it was leading to anxiety and depression. And then I was masking it with other things. So I just became vulnerable. I became vulnerable to my primary physician. I said, I need some help. And he was like, you're a veteran? I said, yes. He said, there's a program here at Rush, because my doctor's at Rush, called Roll Home for Veterans. I said, Roll Home for who? He said, Roll Home for Veterans. He said, it's not the VA. It's a program that helps veterans. And I was blown away that a program like this existed. So he did a referral and in 2015, and that's when I began my journey at Roll Home, and it was a great journey. So that's how I found out and ended up going through the program.
So what's changed since graduating, from Road Home?
My life has gotten more streamlined. A lot of the blockage is gone. I had a tremendous therapist in Thad Ryberg. And me and him, every time we see each other, we greet each other in such a manner that is more than a patient-therapist relationship. We're real friends. If I can just say, it's a tremendous contrast from going to the VA. I never went to the VA because it's filled with a lot of bureaucracy and red tape. But even from the exterior of the Road Home, going to the lobby and the office is so warm and inviting. And when I came to the office in the program, I felt like I was in a spa, Feels like a spa, And it was real sleek and real slick, and the colors were soft. And the next thing you know, different people started talking to me, and I met Thad, and we went to that office and started the work. That's what Thad always say. Let's begin the work. And we started the work from cognitive processing therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, and other things. It was an eye-opener. And one of the things that really motivated me to continue the program was Dad always said, "You're resilient." And when he told me that, I was like, I am, you know. And it just motivated me and inspired me to continue to work. Now, as we worked through my issues, it was painful because I had to dig up some stuff, but it really works. And I was like, wow, it really works. And then I had a few sessions when my wife Patricia, she came with me, and she let Dad have it. You know, she was telling that, you know, because I was trying to live at home like I was in the barracks. I was still programmed. I was still militarized. And I was telling my wife when we first got married, you gotta line your shoes up. You know, just line these shoes up. She said, oh. She said, if we're gonna be married, I can't live like you're in the barracks. And I didn't realize that I still had those behaviors. You know, I still had those military behaviors. I wanted things to be a certain way. My closets had to be lined up. Getting up at a certain time, and I wasn't demilitarized. And so I knew I needed some help. So when Patricia came into the session and she said, Dad, you know, Eric needs help, A, B, C, and D, and this is what I'm experiencing being married to this guy. And you know, and I just had to sit there and take it because she was telling the truth. But as I finished the program, I was able to process things differently and see things differently and look at things from a different perspective. And it was good, and it was so personable. I think that's one thing about the Road Home program, and I'm almost finished talking. It was very, very personable, where you feel like a number. And those of us who connected to the military, you're a number, you know. And when you're out processing the military, they're just stamping your paperwork. You know, they're not really paying attention to what you need, stamping your paperwork, and you go to the next station. But it slowed up for me when I got to the Road Home program, and it made a tremendous difference in my life and my family's.
That's wonderful. So my final question, as your boss.
And that she is.
Yes. So when you meet veterans out in the community, what do you tell them about Road Home?
I tell them, I said, look, if you're having some issues, I want to tell you about this program that I went to. It's streamlined. It's no red tape. They remove all barriers to therapy. I have some veterans that live in Hinesville, Georgia, right outside Fort Stewart. I told them about the program. I said they will fly you in. You know, they will feed you. They will house you. We got an organization called Salute, will help veterans that will help veterans who are struggling financially to get the care that they need. And it happens so fast. The intake system, it happens so fast. The next thing you know, you're there in Chicago and you're getting the treatment that you need. So I've been blessed not only to go through the program, but now I'm an ambassador to the program, and I can really communicate to people the benefits of the program and how it can help. So I always tell them that it eliminates the barriers. It's a great program. And then lastly, when you come out of this program, you're going to discover some things about yourself that you didn't know existed. You know, you're going to discover some strengths that you had that you didn't know you had. You're going to discover that you got to let some things go. I mean, overall, it's just a tremendous program, and I'll stop there.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
All right, so Lindsay.
Hi.
Thank you for coming all the way from Boston. So she is our furthest panelist today, so thank you for coming.
Thank you.
So what was it like for you and your family when Chris enlisted, and how did it change, after you heard the news of him deploying?
So when Chris enlisted, it was a shock, but not, too off-putting. He was, how do I want to say it? It's not a career that we thought would happen in our family, because we didn't have a lot of military people in our family, but nonetheless, he decided to do that, fine. And then 9/11 happened, and the world stood still. It was shocking, and my dad and me and my brother, my aunts, it was a constant, you wake up, you go see what's on the TV. I don't know that my dad slept a lot during that period of time when he was over there. Because I feel like every time I saw him, he was glued to the TV, and it was, waiting by the phone to see, or to hear from him, or, about him. So it was a very stressful time for all of us, for sure.
So just for clarification, how old were you when Chris enlisted?
I was 16, so I was in high school, doing my thing in high school and supposed to be partying, but then that happened, and it was, it was hard to, go to school and hang out with my friends with knowing that he was over there doing unimaginable things,
So when Chris came back home, what was that impact like on your family? What was it like on you?
There was definitely a difference, and we were all, we rallied around him and made sure that we were there for him, and but there was just subtle differences that you kind of picked up on, and you could tell there was, I think a hard time sleeping, that kind of thing you'd start to notice. So yeah, we over time started to see some bigger changes happen, and then my dad and I and the family kind of got together and we're like, I think it's time that we settle down and get you some help with this issue that you have, and not this bigger problem. And thanks to Will, he was a big part in that and getting him the help he needed, and so yeah, we're very thankful for that time of realization. Yeah.
So how have programs like the Road Home program helped Chris and helped your family? What has it been, I guess, the impact on you and your family?
So watching him over the years and going through these, the programs, and he's becoming himself again, and you see that. And it's the little things that, he gets really excited about and he'll tell us about, and it's all because of the Road Home program that, he gets to do these amazing things. And I think just, helping others, that I think helps him a lot in a way. And it's nice to see. It's nice to have him start to be more like himself again and go through that.
My final question is, if you encounter veterans or veteran family members in the community, what would you like them to know about the Road Home program?
So this is something that I do frequently. If I encounter a veteran, I usually inform them of this program and how amazing it is, and the things that they offer. It's amazing. And I do like to throw in that it's not like the VA. We've had experiences with the VA, and it was more like, here's your prescription, take these meds, deal with it at home. It wasn't an all-encompassing program like the Road Home. And so it was just nice to, I like to throw that out there to them and let them know what I know of the program is that, it can really be life-changing and helps the whole family along the way. So.
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you to the panelists for coming up in here and being able to share your story. I know it's not easy because I've had to do this myself. So.
I think just in terms of like summarizing what we've heard tonight, and I'll invite Will up to kind of close us out, and Bill Minot from the leadership committee will sort of wrap up the evening in a few minutes. But you know, I think sometimes what we're doing at Road Home is really quite simple, and I think you heard it organically, naturally from all the panelists tonight. It's like they all felt like they mattered. They all felt like we got to know them as people, right? As people with unique experiences, unique traumas, and also unique strengths. I also think, and I swear this wasn't like pre-planned or conspired or anything, but I think in each person you heard the importance of service, of getting healed, going on a journey of healing so that they can go back and heal others, right? It's not just about, okay, I got what I need, I'm going to go on my way. But you can hear the strong family focus, the strong community focus in each of these individuals, which again is just, as someone on the outside, it's just very humbling. It's very incredible. I think the last thing I'll say before I call Will up is that, you know, I often tell people this, is that, you know, the road home is far from done. Our brightest days are ahead of us, truly. I think there are things in the works, expanding the program to families, expanding the program on more of a national scale than before. I think partnering with the VA, as Ambassador said, in a real way, that I think the program that you will hear about in even 1, 2, 3 years is not the program that you have now. And I think we're an evolving program. We adapt, we grow, we change, and it's all very positive. And I think we do it with the simple mission in mind of helping these men and women you see here. Will, I want to bring you up for a few more words.
So I'll just say, hello? I'm not good at this. So I just wanted to say, I'm still blown away at hearing these stories. And, you know, again, it was just a simple thought of when we, you know, when I came to Rush to start this, and we're really grateful because we're part of this academic environment, but I wanted to make sure that compassion and care and building relationships was just as important as that academic side, and we've been able to balance that. You heard that tonight. And as Brian said, we want to make our circle bigger. The veterans at the center of everything, but the family and their friends and so many others are part of that, as you heard tonight. So I'm grateful for you coming to us and trusting us. I think Reg, you and I talked about that, right? About trust, because that's the thing that veterans don't have today. They don't have that because they're promised things, but then nothing, you know, bumka. But we try to do that, and that goes back to our values. You know, we try to create innovative care. We try to create collaborative care, accountability, delivering, following through, and being respectful. The I-CARE values. So I'm just grateful for that. So, Bill, invite you up.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories. This is what the Road Home program is all about, and thank you for being here and providing this for us. Everyone really appreciates it. So, and I want to thank everyone in the audience for being here tonight, in spite of the Bears traffic, which nailed my wife Farah and I to get here on time. Without your support, Rush would not be in a position to provide the services of the Road Home program. You've heard that repeatedly tonight, but I can't emphasize that enough. And I can't thank you enough for your participation and your loyalty to what we're trying to accomplish here. The work we are doing, that Rush does every day here, is improving people's lives by transforming relationships, inspiring productivity and creativity, and reuniting people with their interests and passions. If you think about that, it's really helping people put their lives back together. And from a measurable standpoint, the veterans that enter into the Rush Home program, 96% of them complete the program. In addition to that, More than half experienced such a great improvements from the program. They no longer screen positive for post-traumatic stress disorders. These are measurables that, from my standpoint, and Tom has always teased me with my questions, but I want to see exactly what are we accomplished and where are we getting here. And then the last fact I'd like to share with you is that the cutting-edge therapy provided reduces measurable suicidal ideations in 70% of the participants here. Those are measurable numbers. Those are a big deal. That shows the difference that we're all making with our contributions and our support for this program. So you've seen the slide over several times as we've been sitting here about the 100,000 hours of care that the Road Home members have been providing since this program started to veterans, active service members, and to their families. But all of that is for no cost. And so it's something I'm particularly proud of because I've worked with Tom and with Ron since the inception of this program, and I think it's quite amazing what everyone has accomplished here together. So I'm honored to be part of it. And again, I thank you for your participation and what you've shared with us today. So thank you.